Yo, what up, guys? It's the Gaming Zone. Shawn Layden thinks that games are costing too much now and should be shorter to compensate. I agree with half of that statement, and today we are going to be talking about it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Ex-PlayStation boss says games should be shorter because development costs are not sustainable. Former PlayStation executive Shawn Layden says that the price of game development has reached an unsustainable point, and games should be made shorter to remedy this. Now, as I said earlier, I agree with half of that. Do think that some games are costing way too much to develop. However, I do not think the solution is making games shorter. I don't think that's the solution at all. In an interview with Eurogamer, Layden was asked if it was enough to keep selling games to an audience that isn't growing at a rapid rate. Layden acknowledged that the industry is currently about getting more money off the same people and suggests that until this changed, game development costs had to come down. Every generation it costs twice as much to build a game, he explained. What cost 1 million on PS1 then costs 2 million, then 4 million, then 16 million. It goes exponentially. During the PS4 generation, which I was the last to associate with, game dev was 150 million if you want to be top of the line. That's before the marketing. So by the math, PS5 games should eventually reach 300 million to 400 million. And that is just outright not sustainable. I don't agree with that. I don't even think that it should be increased by this much. I think a lot of this stuff are these fake jobs and these fake positions that are being put in gaming just for the hiring practice of it all. He added, it's like we're at the end of the 18th century and we're realizing that building cathedrals is really expensive. Can we continue to build these massive edifices to God for this incredible amount of labor and time? Or should we just build 4 walls and a roof and that's a church, right? I'm afraid we've built AAA games into a kind of a cathedral business and it just can't grow any further. In fact, it's probably grown too far already. I highly disagree with this. A lot of the games in AAA gaming aren't cathedral level buildings. They're more like sandcastles or house of cards. Cathedrals aren't being built the way they are mainly because people don't have the time or the patience to want to build these kind of structures anymore. It's the same with gaming. People want to put out these half-baked games to hurry up and make money from it. But if people actually took the time to sit and craft a great product, a lot of their issues would be solved when it comes to this. Asked how this trend could be rolled back to something more sustainable, Layden replied that games are too long, suggesting that while the length of the game used to be one of its main selling points, as the average audience has aged, a long game has become less of an attractive prospect to some players. For the longest time, we kept banging on about 100 hours gameplay. This is going to be awesome. It's 100 hours of gameplay. Like that's the most important thing to know, he explained. That was a metric in the early years when the average gamer was 18 to 23. And when you're 18 to 23, you're time rich and money poor. But as the average age of gamer moved into the late 20s, the early 30s, well, it's the opposite, right? Maybe you're not money rich, but you're definitely time poor. So I think our approach is a mismatch to the market to reality. I think that you're not looking at the market as the overall view. You're looking at a generation of the market and you're trying to move with that generation. Everything cycles. Some TV shows that were meant for kids, when you grow up as an adult, you show that to your kids, if you have kids, and it gets passed on from generation to generation like that. So when one generation moves on and now they're working and being adults, the ones who were 10, 11 years old, they're now the 18 and 21 year olds who are now buying these games and who are now participating in the gaming culture that's going on. Layden also suggests that the constant chase for intricate levels of details ramp up production costs, and that if games are too long and players don't reach the end, that results in a lot of resources spent on content few actually get to see. Well, I think it also depends on the content, right? I've played Skyrim at least 2 or 3 times and I've never beat Skyrim. I probably completed all the side quests in comparison throughout those 2 to 3 playthroughs, but I've personally never seen the end of Skyrim. However, I've seen probably 90% of the game of Skyrim just by playing it. And I think that when you go into that mindset of, oh, I gotta make my content shorter because I want everyone to see it, that's the wrong mindset. You could just create a great product and people are going to want to see it regardless. Elden Ring. My first Elden Ring playthrough was 150 hours. I did everything that I possibly could in that singular playthrough, got as many achievements as I possibly can before I was trying to move on to my next playthrough. Guess what? I stayed throughout those whole 150 hours and I enjoyed every second of it. I wanted to see the end. Even if the game was over 100 hours, I was still very much invested and still very much wanted to see what happened at the end. The problem is, a lot of these game developers, it seems like they don't understand that anymore. On PS1, our expectation walking down the street in a game was that you couldn't open every door, he said. Now the expectation is you can go in every house, open every drawer, and everything is destructible. And that's nice, but it's expensive to happen. We have to look at that. No, not everything needs to be destructible. Just the things that should be destructible. Does that make sense? It seems to me as if this guy has this mindset of gamers are TikTokers now, to where like our attention span can't last longer than 10 seconds and we need everything spoon fed to us immediately. No, a lot of gamers, they love the journey. They love going from point A to point B and experiencing everything that happens in between those 2 points. If only 50% of players see the end of your game, what about all of those millions you spent on the final level for only half the people to see it? Well, first of all, that's your problem right there. Why are you spending millions on one final level? Because for some reason, everything has to be this grand, spectacular thing when it doesn't. It doesn't. It just needs to be impactful. And it doesn't need to be expensive for it to be impactful. There's so much money being put into making huge gaming experiences and people aren't seeing it. What would Coppola do if you walked out halfway through his movie? Well, to be honest, he might just appreciate you for even coming to see the movie in the first place, because you could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be there. We have to understand, is this a good use of resource? I want a movement that gets more people to finish games, where we make it so compelling they want to see it, and where it's not so onerous they don't have to spend 3 months doing it. Here's an idea. When you make an actual good, compelling game with a good story, people want to see the end of the story. People are stopping midway through the game because people find out midway through the game that this game is crap and no one wants to continue it. So yeah, when you make good product and you make good storytelling, people will stick it through. Whether it takes 100 hours, 50 hours, 10 hours, or 1,000 hours, people will enjoy the ride when it's a good ride. But that's all that I have for you guys today. Please let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you made it this far and you like what you heard, please hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe. If you made it this far and you didn't like what you heard, go ahead and hit that dislike button. It's cool. I am the Gaming Zon. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.